So today on Project Shop, I'm going to show you a complete breakdown of my transformer press, all the different pieces, and how I built it and what is actually going to be done to it here soon. Sorry about the lighting. This light here, either blue, the ballast blue or something, or could have been that someone cut through that pipe right there with a cutoff wheel during the demo. But we're a little low on light. But we'll get through it. So we're going to start off with my table, the actual table that holds everything. This thing originally started off as a welding table, and it's basically just 2x4 steel that I originally had because I was going to build my own runners, side steps for my F350, but I needed a welded table, so I had these things from scrap somewhere. These two beams I got for free. They're perfectly 8 foot and they're perfectly parallel and level with each other. And one thing I'm actually going to do is probably lower this table. I was going to actually cut these off because I want to be able to put either a pallet jack or whatnot. It's just too high, and the table itself is kind of high. Once you start putting stuff on it, you're working. I'm tall, so it's not too much of an issue, but for most people, this is a better height here. It's about 6 inches lower. So I'm actually going to cut these off, lower the table, and then these are going to get cut off, and there's going to be something completely different going on under there. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on down there. So that's a table, and this is the first press, and I actually cut the legs off of it because it used to sit on the plywood that would go in here and straddle this beam. And what I'm going to do now is actually weld 2 more beams in here so that that straddles it and is actually locked down. I don't know if I'm going to drill it, or I'll probably just tack weld it in there temporarily because things might get moved around here. These 2 here are the original beams that hold the second press up. These are the new ones I just cut. I actually cut them off of these beams. If you've watched my previous video building the ultimate copper recovery system, those came all the way out past, I think they're like 12 footers. They came out here and they stuck way off on the end on the other side, and I had them bolted actually underneath, so they were lowered down here. And what I did is I actually cut them off, so they're going to start from here, come out here, hold the wire stripper. But on the other side, something totally different is going to happen. Wait till you see what's going to go on over there. That's going to be absolutely incredible. And so these are the ones for the wire stripper. These are going to be the new ones. That's a new addition to the table to hold that press. And then this is the main beam that rides down the middle that holds up all the plates and whatnot. And these are the spacers, because this beam here is not as high as those I-beams, and that actually makes them level. So we'll start off with the first press. This is the jig, and it's basically made out of C-channel. You know, it's very thin and small for what I'm doing with it, as you can see by all the cracks and how many times this has been welded up. How well this is coming through. So basically, since this is so thin, even though those rails sit here, most of the pressure of those transformers gets transferred right here. So I welded a plate. That didn't really work. I welded another plate with a rib on it. That seems to work because the rib actually sits right there. You can see that big old indent from where that rib presses down in there. And then these plates here, I welded on there so that the bolts don't pull through. And then these actually are adjustable, and it just lets that plate slide in there. I don't know if this is for this side or the other. It's probably the other side. Yeah. So basically, it just slides under there and it stops this from flipping forward. And you know. And then this is just a piece of angle, okay, with ribs here and a piece of square stock welded to the front. And I don't know how well that's coming through, but that thing is pretty worn out and probably should be replaced with a hardened steel that's just like a mild steel and it actually gets squished out. I've replaced those like 3 times, maybe 4 times in 10 years. And the same thing with this. As you can see, it's kind of squished out right here. I've replaced that 2 times in 10 years. And this is just a big chunk of steel that I welded to another plate steel with a piece of square stock with a hole drilled through and 2 nuts on either end. I'm not sure why the nuts are there, but they're there. And it goes through and just holds up on there. So you can put different jigs in there, whatever you want. You know, take this out and just use the plunger. But that was pretty simple. This is actually the original beam for the Harbor Freight 20-ton press, which was highly modified. That's welded. I put 1/2 inch, or that might be a little thicker than 1/2 inch plate right here. I put this beam on the top. I welded more support on the side because this thing was all tweaked up and flexing. And the thing does pretty good because I'm running a 25-ton Enerpack 10,000 PSI cylinder in there, and that's a 20-ton press. So this thing with the explosive decompression cracks up a lot. This thing also got 1/2 inch or 5/8 plate in the middle now, and these are just guides on the side. They've broken so many times. There's like a completely cracked here, completely cracked here, completely cracked here, and this thing would always break in the middle of the night, in the middle of a run, and I would just lay some bead on it and get back to work, and then it would last for another 6 months to a year. So the springs that hold it up, that cylinder actually is single act and has a spring inside to pull it back. These springs just help pull this up and keep this thing tight. I'm running a 10,000 PSI 2-speed American made hydraulic pump. This thing puts those Chinese ones to shame. And then this is the second press, which consists of a 2-ton ram and then a 1-ton ram. And originally this thing just had this one up here, and actually it was a whole nother small thing here. But I was gonna take this off, but this plate, when I added this second ram, is actually welded to it. So I kind of had to paint around it. But basically this thing is built out of angle iron. I welded an angle here, I welded another angle here, basically made a big old rectangle, and then I welded this to it. I made this, and originally I made it so this could move, and then you can just pin it. I was gonna drill holes so you can pin it, but it was better that I just moved it all the way up and put, you know, different jigs in there, because it didn't do what I originally wanted to do. And then let me just show you the ribs underneath, and they just push. So basically when the front of this is getting pushed down, it's roll it in and out with a dolly, or if, you know, when I had a forklift, I could just grab it with that barrel clamp and pull them out. The press in the middle, you always have to pull the steel out, so I would always just throw it over there. But it's gonna be weird when I cut the legs. Probably gonna cut 4 inches off of here, or split the difference down there, lower that, and then there's gonna be a whole big structural frame put under there. And basically I'm gonna take my other table that I have and put it right down on top of this in the other direction this way. And then I'm gonna build, actually I'm thinking about taking that and replacing this with that, and then building a whole nother press on the other side. Wait till you see what I have for the 55-ton Ramco that I've already got for it. It's pretty incredible. Definitely gonna need some structural reinforcement for what I'm doing. Anyway, back to this press. These plates here, I believe, were just more of this plate, and I just cut them so that they fit down in there. That's probably this side. Yeah, they've worn themselves so they only go in there one way, like that. And you just slide them back and forth. Now, I did notice that there is a slight angle on this when I had this apart, So I will be making new plates with removable hardened jaws in here. Like I'll be able to just drop in like a vice jaw. So it'll get better grip on the transformers, and I'm gonna build back here some type of bar that goes over top of this that you can just real quickly just push it down and it'll clamp these in place. So that's gonna be a little upgrade we're gonna do. And then, yeah, so what I'm gonna do right now is get that plate, which I didn't paint, and I'm not going to because this plate's not gonna stay on here very long, but I'm gonna get this up on a table where it's supposed to go, because I gotta start from that plate and build that way. Once I get the measurement where that's gonna go, I can figure out where this machine, because I don't think the machine actually sits dead center, or it might. I just gotta verify that first, and then go from. Okay, so I got it marked out where it needs to go, and I was right. It does sit offset to one side. So there's 22 inches in between the frames. I got these at 20 inches, so I got an inch to play with on either side. And what I'm gonna do now is grind underneath here and grind the ends of these. They're gonna sit up. Well, that one sit that way. And then I'm going to use this to hold them up in place so I can square them, and then just weld them right in place. And then I'll actually weld that in place. I got to make sure that I leave a gap for the jig to sit down in. And then for its first time in its 10-year life, it's actually going to be solid to the table, because normally it would just sit on that plywood, and I took a strap and just strapped it to the face of this I-beam, and that was it. It ran that way for 10 years or however long it's been up there. So I'm gonna go ahead and grind both sides of the table, the 2x4 steel, and then get them welded up. Okay, I think I forgot to turn the camera on, or it shut off, but something happened. Anyway, I got these pulled up. I used the cherry picker to pull the 2x4 steel up. I squared it, clamped it in place, and then I put the press up here, but the press was actually sitting kind of low. So I took the same little 1x1 stock that I used to make that center beam level with here, and I just shoved it under, and it just happened to be pretty much right on for making that flush. So what I'm going to do is tack these on. Well, just go ahead and weld them in place where they need to be, and then I will weld these rails pretty much to the edges, to the outside here, and then get this in place and tack that down. And pretty much that'll be where it needs to be, and then I can move forward to the next step. Okay, there you go. Looking nice. Got it all welded in there. It's solid. I mean, it's not moving. And I left just a slight gap so this thing can come in and out easily with no problem. It's actually never been level before. And yeah, I like it. Came out good. Now, I did have a problem with the welder. This is actually a great welder. This is a Lincoln Weld Pack 140 HD, and I was pulling too many amps, I guess, and I was kicking the light off. I'm plugged in. I'm limited on power because this whole panel here is shut down, and I only have 110 at the moment, so I got to use my 110 welder, not my 220 welder. This thing's great. I actually built this whole table and all of this stuff with a Weld Pack 100, and I used that for like 5 years, man. Finally burned it up, and I got this one. This is the biggest 110 welder they make before it goes to 220, or at least it was at the time. And this will weld aluminum, stainless steel, and you can either put gas on it. I run the flux core wire because it's better when you're welding dirty metal to have that flux on the inside. And I started welding and I blew the breaker twice, so I had to turn the heat down and slow the feed down a little bit and just weld a little bit slower than I'm normally used to. And another issue, I didn't have my 2 welding helmets there. One of them was so dark I couldn't see nothing, and the other one's just a grinding helmet. I learned that the hard way. But I got the spacer. You can see this thing's spaced up, and I got that welded in, and I did mess up my paint job a little bit, but I'll show you how I put that pinstripe on there with no tape. And basically what you do is get some paint. Normally, like on this, I always put all the black on first, and then you come back with the orange and you just blast it on there. Don't really worry about the overspray or whatnot getting on the tighten that area up, because what I'm going to do is let that dry, and then I'm just going to come back on an angle and blast down there on the side. Basically what you do is you shoot the black back that way, and it just leaves that nice crisp edge. So we'll go ahead and touch up all the orange. Okay, that's all you need. That was a little excessive, but I'll show you how to clean that up real quick. So what I'm going to do now is slide in the middle beam and put it up on. It's going to take the same spacers, and I'll probably weld the spacers to the frame here and then let the beam slide around, because I don't think the beam actually gets bolted to anything. I think it might get a clamp down that end. I'm not sure how I had that secured, but I might just go ahead and tack weld it on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that beam on there, let that paint dry real quick, and I'll show you how to get a nice clean edge back on there. Okay, there you go. Starting to look like something now. So basically this whole thing is held together by these pipe hangers. I found they work pretty good. Originally, I didn't want to weld nothing solid on here, but since I'm going to be having other people run this, I'm going to get this into place, weld it. I'm not going to stick the plate. There's the plate right there that goes up here. I'm going to pressure clean it and paint it, and then those two beams right there will get bolted on these holes. There's another hole under here. This needs to be slid around. It looks like, why is that so close? I need to move that over a little bit so I can get to those bolt holes. And then I get the wire stripper back up here. But this thing tomorrow morning will be pretty much ready to crack some transformers. But I'll get this thing completely put back together tomorrow with the wire stripper and whatnot. And then the plates, I don't know if I'm going to paint them or not, but let me just show you a little trick. So basically, you just pay attention to where the end of your thing is, and then you come in on that angle like that. See that? Clean that up real nice, like. I mean, this thing's gonna get trashed, so I'm not really worried about making it too pretty. But you can clean all that up. There you go. Look at that. Looking nice. Looking like it's ready to work. Oh, got a little too much on it. But anyway, there you have it. That's how I built this thing. And it's pretty much the transformer presses. Been this way for years. Oh, look at that. And on the other side, I've modified it a couple times. Different configurations. I had that big press mounted up here in two different configurations, actually. The first time I had some other stuff that was a little lower. Than the second time, you guys seen it, where I had the beams going all the way through. The next time, I don't even know if I'm gonna mount that out here, but there's gonna be a big plate sitting right here, and I'm probably gonna drop the 100-ton press on this side and have it facing like this, so you'll operate it this way. That way it doesn't interfere with the wire stripper, because that was my whole concern with when it was out here, was I was going to be working here breaking stuff, and it was going to conflict with the wire stripper. Oh, looks like we got some more to do here. And I want everything to be able to operate at the same time. So basically I could have 6 people on this table just tearing through some copper. So we'll go ahead and tighten this up. Oh, got a little heavy there. Let's get that angle right. And we're running out of black paint. I think we're completely out. Let's see this. Oh no, we got another can. Found. See? Let's see. There we go. See that? Just come in on that angle. And then you're left with nice finish. And you don't have to sit here and tape everything off. You know, just have a little control. That one I got a little messed up on. But you can just sit here and you mess it up, you let it dry, you hit it, and you come back and hit it again. You know? And then you get the corners and everything, you know? No tape. I did all this with no tape. This I couldn't get apart, so there's a little cross contamination, but hey, for what it is, looks nice. We'll get the plates on there tomorrow, and see about getting the wire stripper on there. Come this far, thanks for watching. Stay tuned, 'cause tomorrow I'm going to be mounting the wire stripper on this side and probably running a ton of transformers I got sitting around. I'll tell you where we're going, right to the scrap yard. Watch it. Look, it's dancing. You ever seen your copper dance before?